So I have a parent class and child class.
Okay.
Okay. I have overridden a method from parent to child.
Okay.
Now your parent method is throwing IO exception and your child method is throwing file not found exception. Will this code compile?
Sorry, I missed the first one. What is the first exception? What is the parent class exception is?
IO exception.
I IO exception. Okay, okay. And the child class?
File not found.
File not found. Okay. I think it will give an error as in because the reason behind is um, the parent class, whatever the parent class is giving the error or giving the exception. So the same, the child class should have higher exception or equal level of exception into that. But as child class is not showing throwing the exception of any something like it is showing the exception lower than IO because IO is basically a parent of file not found exception. So that
Okay.
is why I think it will
So you
give
are telling
an
compile time error will come.
compile time error will come.
Okay, so let's say your parent method is not throwing arithmetic exception and your child is throwing runtime exception.
Okay, so parent is not throwing any of the exception, correct?
Arithmetic exception.
Arithmetic exception, and the child is throwing runtime exception.
Child is throwing runtime.
Yeah, I think in this scenario it should work.
Okay, you know how to start a thread, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so we have this start method which internally calls your overridden run method.
correct.
Okay, so what this start method actually does?
So start method has three main work to do. One is to create the thread, as in to create the thread as in whatever process is required to creating a thread. That whole thing will be done by start method. That is the first thing. Second thing is once this all things are done, then it will start the thread. And third, like it will initiate the life cycle of the thread. We can say like that. And the third thing is internally calling the run method. So whatever the work that thread has to be done according to the run method which we have overridden, so it will
Can
internally call
we
that method.
can we override a start method?
Yeah, we can override the start method, but the issue will be it will not be able to call the run method. It will be called as in the simply a normal method what we have.
Okay, let's say from that overridden method, I will call super.start. Then
Okay, so if you are calling super dot start, yeah, I think then in this scenario, I think in that scenario, if that is a super method, but still that will not happen because if you are overriding a method, the child class will also be a type of thread only, correct?
yes,
So
my
I
class,
don't.
my class extends thread class, and I'm
Correct.
overriding a start method, and from there I'm calling super.start.
Okay. So internally it will basically, okay, now I got your question. Actually I was confused. Yeah. So you are telling that there is class A which actually extends thread class, and now you are overriding super method. Start method, correct? And inside that start method you are calling super dot start, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So in this scenario, what will happen is it will call the thread method class. Okay, and the thread method class will basically call the run method of that thread method class only. So it will ideally it will not do anything. It will just create and start a thread. There is no other run method is going to get called. I think so.
So you are telling if we'll in this way it will do, then it will not call run method. Your
It
overridden
will
run
call
method.
the run method, but it will be the run method will be called of class thread, not our own class which we have overridden the run method.
Why?
Because
Let's
it.
say let's say you are calling thread.start. I am not overriding that. I am calling thread.start, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
again, it is going a call to your start method of thread class, right?
correct,
And from there your overridden run method will be called. So it
correct,
is the same scenario, right? It is like going via your overridden start method. That's all.
correct. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Are you aware of concurrent hash map?
yeah, concurrent. Yeah, I'm aware about that.
how locking works in concurrent hash map?
So concurrent hash map locking is basically based on the block level. So there can be two possible
Mhm.
ways of locking. One is at the block level, that is the bucket level, and the second is the in some of the things they actually do it combination of two three blocks. So it is kind of on the bucket level itself the locking is happening. So for example, on the bucket one, if some one thread is writing, at the same time at the bucket 3 also one of the thread can actually start writing, because both of the buckets need different locks to occupy the lock. So that is the reason it is on bucket level locking.
Okay. So let's say I have two threads
Okay.
and both are doing write operation.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Can these two threads work on the same segment of concurrent hash map?
Okay. Yes. So in this scenario, I think it will the first law or the first thread will basically occupy the lock and it will start writing. Then only after that, once that lock is done, after that only the second thread will start occupying the lock and start writing the new thing.
Okay. Let's say one thread is doing read and one is doing write operation then.
Yeah, then it is fine. Like concurrently, the user can actually read and write at the same time. So there is no, for reading the data, there is no lock is required.
Okay. Okay. Do you know the difference between collection and stream?
Collection and sorry,
Mm-hmm.
hello, sorry, I missed the last collection and
Stream. Java 8
okay,
stream.
stream. So collection is basically it's what we can say as an it's a group of objects which are basically kept in a single unit. That is what we say as a collection. Like for example, if we wanted to keep large number of, like list of employees, so we'll have a array list or list, whatever list we are using, we'll have a list. So that is basically a collection. Whereas stream, what it do is, if we wanted to perform any operation on the list of, or on the collection of any type of any type of objects, so for that we need stream.
Okay. Okay. So in Java 8 in interfaces we have default methods.
Yes, yes, yeah.
What is the use of that?
So default method is basically, so it's a very simple use. I think Java 8 has the developers had thought really well. So what happens is, like currently till Java 7, for example, if there is any interface we are like if we are, there is interface A, for example, and that interface is getting implemented in 100 classes. Okay, and now I'm making some change or even adding single method into in that interface. So all 10 or all 100, either what we need to do is all the 100 classes should implement, even if that is not required. Okay, still
Okay.
they have to implement that a method. Or the
Okay.
second way is basically the interface will be implemented by abstract class, and then after class abstract class will be used as in we can extend it. So those were the two ways.
Okay.
But
So let's say I am giving you one scenario. Let's say I have two interfaces.
okay,
In both interfaces, I have same default method name.
okay, yeah,
Okay. Now my class implements both interfaces.
okay.
Okay. Is there any issue in this code?
Yeah,
Compile
in
time,
this
runtime.
code we will get the ambiguity, because the reason behind is it will be kind of both the methods having the same signature. So the Java compiler will not be able to understand which method we need to call. So that is the reason this will be kind of what we say as a multiple inheritance, what we say as this will be the same scenario, and we will get compile time error.
How will you fix this?
So to fixing this, I think the best option will be calling it by the reference or by the interface name itself.
Okay. Okay. So you have to override that default method and you have to call it by that interface
Yeah,
method
correct. Yeah,
or interface name
correct.
with references. Okay. Okay. So have you worked on Hibernate,
Hibernate, not much actually.
JPA,
Sorry,
JPA?
sorry, I am not able to get.
I'm asking JPA.
jQuery you're saying?
No, JPA, JPA. Hibernate.
Okay, JPA.
We would have
Okay,
JPA.
JPA. Not actually. We were using this Spring itself. That is Spring. What we say as
Spring Data.
Yeah, Spring Data. So that is the reason we not
So
worked
Spring
much on
Data,
this.
if you are using your repo, which repo will extend your JPA repository, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so you are using it directly, like through that wrapper directly.
Correct, correct, correct.
Okay, all those CRUD operations you are doing it with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the annotations you are using for this?
So annotation as an I'm not very much sure about this JPA very much because recently only we have started. Previously we were working on this what we say as a I'm not able to recall the name. Spring data source. We were using this Spring data source. That is the reason.
Mhm. Okay, and what about Spring Boot and microservices?
Yeah, Spring Boot and microservice. I'm good. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so how services communicates with each other in microservices architecture?
So microservice architecture, there are two ways how we can do it. One is by using RESTful services. So we have a Webflux now in Spring Boot that is already there, which follows the
Mhm.
reactive way of communication. So we
So
can use.
what class or what API are you using for this reactive web flux
So
communication,
we
like
have Spring
sync
Reactive is the
communication?
one. Spring Reactive is the dependency which
Okay.
we need to include. So that will enable our system to use that Webflux. So that is the
And
first
in your
way.
class, what API or what interface are you using?
Interface, as in, sorry, I didn't get.
Like in your class, let's say if it is a sync communication,
Okay,
we use the REST template, right?
okay,
That API. So
okay,
what
okay.
about in a Spring Web Flux?
So Spring Webflux, I think. So Spring Webflux, we have an inbuilt project itself. So we use that only internally. So there are different methods which they have created. So we are calling not directly through that Webflux, but we are calling this jar, and that jar is basically owned by internal team itself. So they are
Okay,
making it to transfer the file to the, like, internally they use Webflux.
okay. It is a web client,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, web client, correct, web client, yeah, correct.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so do you know the difference between controller and REST controller annotation?
Yeah, yeah, correct. At the rate controller, basically what it do is it's just a normal controller. It just annotated that this is a controller, and whatever request is coming, it will be diverted to this controller first. Whereas at the REST controller is basically combination of two annotation. One is at the rate response body, and the second is at the rate controller. And also there is the third one as well. No, I think these are the only two. Yeah, there is a combination of these two um, annotations.
Okay, what is the difference between component and bean annotation?
So at the rate component basically makes the class eligible for making as a bean for that class, whereas at the rate bean on top of any of the method specifies that this method is going to return as the bean of any of the class. So that is the difference.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so are you aware of circuit breaker pattern in microservices?
Oh, so yeah, yeah, circuit breaker. Yeah, I am aware about that.
Okay, so in which scenario which like we use this?
So major one scenario which I know is for example now there is one API which we are using, like there are three microservices which are interconnected to each other, and the service A is basically making call to service B and service C. So service B is up and it is working fine, whereas service C, what it do is it is giving the response in a very what we say, slow manner. So in this scenario we have the circuit breaker where what we'll do is we will continuously getting called from A, whereas from B whatever we are from C whatever we are calling, we can specify the user that currently it is not working as per this, and please come back later. So in this scenario we can
Okay.
go ahead with
Okay.
circuit breaker.
Okay. What is API gateway?
So API gateway is basically there are few it's kind of a layer just before our controller, or just before our application. So for example, if so we have different rules and regulations we can apply at API gateway. So first is what you have mentioned, that is gateway, sorry, that is circuit breaker that can be used at API gateway itself. Then second is just take an example like DDoS attack rule what we have. So for example, we can make a rule something like that. If from single API, if we are getting 5 post requests in a single in 1 second, and this pattern is getting continuously for 5 seconds, something like that, so we will block that IP. So all these rules and all this thing, regulations, whatever, to protect our system to undergo some of the threats or violation, or what we say as an attack from the vulnerabilities, to protect this, we use API gateways.
Do you have any exposure on like message queue, message broker?
We use Kafka actually.
Okay, so let's say if I want to send a message to a particular partition, how can I do this?
Not sure about that. I think there might be a parameter which we can send as a partition number. I'm not sure, very much sure about that.
What is replica set?
Sorry?
Replica.
Replica. Okay, so replica is basically something like so we have two environment. One is maybe environment one which is in India, second environment which is in USA, and we wanted to create something like if there is a message is getting created in India server or India server, so the same message should get created at our USA server as well. So for that reason we use replica in Kafka.
Okay. Okay, Sandeep, so now I'm asking you the last question. Okay, so let's say I have, I'm maintaining an like immutability of a class. Okay.
Sorry, can you come again?
So I have a immutable class.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now I have introduced a mutable object reference inside immutable class.
Okay.
Okay. Now how can I maintain the immutability of this class now?
Okay, so the immutability can be maintained. First thing is make that like whenever we are returning that object, at that time it will always be going to be like, will not give the setter, will always provide getter only. So if somebody is trying to update that value, he will not be able to do it because he don't have privilege for that to set that value. Second is make that element as in that variable as a private, so directly no one can actually access that.
So these are the steps already I have taken care before introducing mutable object reference. Now I have introduced mutable object reference inside. Let's say hash map or data object I have introduced.
Yeah.
So we should do some extra care for mutable object, right?
Correct. Yeah. So if just let's take an example of hash map itself. So maybe if we have an hash map, so what we can do is whenever we are returning this like somebody is calling for this object, what we can do is we can create the unmodifiable hash map itself. That is, we have a privilege by using, I think, collections class itself, collections dot unmodifiable, something like that we have. So we can directly call that method, and inside that we'll pass this hash map, and it will return us the unmodifiable to the end user or the third party which is calling this method.
Okay, Sandeep. Yeah, I'm done from my side. Do you have any question, anything?
Yeah, I have two questions. One is if I get selected, if I get the opportunity to work with you, so what all technologies I will be working on? What are the roles and responsibilities you want me to justify?
Yeah, so technology wise, whatever we discussed, microservices, Spring Boot, and like cloud side, and then this Java 8, we are migrating it to Java 11 also. So those things you will work on those stacks like NoSQL databases and all.
Okay. And second question is, so what I can work more on, as in we have a discussion for around half an hour. So do you think that where I can focus more so that technically I can grow better?
See, okay, so particularly on this side, you can go, so like the basics. So you, the first question, whatever I have asked you, like IO exception and this file not found exception. So basically that code will compile, there will be no issue.
Cool.
So we have different scenarios, like if you'll use covariant type in overriding concept, what is that? So all these are like different things.
Correct.
So basic, the thing is like if you will like understand the core concepts or basic concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to understand these frameworks. Frameworks are nothing; these are wrappers, right? So
Correct.
if you know these concepts, you will easily understand. These are just APIs. You will
Correct.
easily get in, like from Google. You will go to their docs. You will understand these APIs.
Correct.
But the basic and this logic, you will not get that idea from anywhere. You will have to build and you will have to learn from core only,
Correct. 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 True. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And one more question I have asked you about start method, right?
Yeah.
So yes, your start method will create that new thread and it will register that thread to your thread
Schedule.
scheduler.
Yeah. Thread scheduler. Yeah.
So these are like internal things how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why like, uh, I was asking you.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So any other question?
No. No. I think I'm good.
So how was the interview and questions and all?
Yeah. I think it was good. It was really fun.
Okay. Okay, Sandeep. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah. Same. Same here. Thank. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.
Bye.